Anybody ever poke your eye during a fight?
Yeah, John Jones, bitch. I came into the fight with an eye poke injury because we were training for that shit, bro. I fought a guy who's known for eye poking. So, John Jones.
Rampage Jackson has reignited his rivalry with John Jones, launching a scathing attack during a bombshell interview that sent shockwaves through the MMA community. The former UFC light heavyweight champion held nothing back, branding Jones a dirty fighter while also accusing him of being a junkie and a cheat. Meanwhile, echoing the mounting frustrations surrounding Jones's reign, Michael Bisping also weighed in, questioning whether the reigning UFC heavyweight champion should be stripped of his title. While Bisping acknowledged Jones as one of the greatest martial artists of all time and a two-division champion, he stressed that Jones's prolonged absence and refusal to face interim title holder Tom Aspinall are holding the division hostage. According to Bisping, being a champion comes with responsibilities that Jones is currently neglecting.
Of course, we're talking about one of the greatest mixed martial arts that the sport, that the planet has ever seen. The greatest light heavyweight without a shadow of a doubt, okay? We know this, and now he's a two-weight division champion. He's the heavyweight champion of the world, but he's holding up the division, okay? Tom Aspinall, the interim champion, has been the interim champ for 70% of John Jones's reign. They need to fight one another, and what the F is going on? Why isn't this fight scheduled? And now, of course, we've seen all this stuff coming out about John Jones. He's not sure, he's tweeting, he might be retired, he might not be retired, he's living his best life. I mean, that's all well and good. As the heavyweight champion of the world, you have a debt, you have an obligation to the fighters, to the fans, to the rest of the division, to your bloody self to prove that you are the undisputed champion of the world. He's not the undisputed champ because there's an interim champion. And I'm not saying this as someone trying to shit on John Jones.
Adding to the growing chorus of criticism, analyst Luke Thomas underlined that Jones, as a reigning title holder, has an obligation to the sport and the heavyweight division. Thomas insisted that a unification bout with Aspinall is the only logical path forward and condemned the ongoing delays. He noted that despite several opportunities to schedule the fight, the UFC has failed to act, leaving fans in limbo while aiming vaguely for a November return.
But the point I'm trying to make is data gets out there and it was like, you know, you have an obligation to not just Johnny, to the sport, to the fans, blah, blah, blah. And if you're going to hold a belt, he's right. He's right. You do have an obligation. Now, again, how you fulfill that obligation, there's some wiggle room, but you do. Like, I just want everyone to realize, like, I've seen a number of things being said about this. Like, oh, the UFC's obviously just going to wait for November. Motherfucker, they've been trying to fill dates. Like, his last fight was November. There are several dates they could have filled between now and then, including, but not limited to, UFC 317 to get this done, and it didn't materialize. Like, this idea that the plan was always to wait till next November, I'm sure that was part of a contingency plan, a big priority for them. This idea that, like, oh, they had to wait November to November to do this is just like, that's where we are now, because we can't make this fight in the summer. And so at this point, it just doesn't make any more sense than to just keep on waiting until November. But there's been a number of dates and a number of dates they've tried to fill to make that fight happen. First of all, like, November isn't like the ideal date. November is the drop dead date.
Similarly, Ariel Helwani pointed out that John Jones has just one fight left to cement his legendary legacy, a unification bout with Tom Aspinall. Helwani emphasized that there are no other meaningful matchups left for Jones and that the division needs closure. He speculated that Jones's hesitation to return may stem from a fear of jeopardizing his legacy with a potential loss to the dangerous interim champion.
UFC met it. He's not interested. They have to make a decision. Take that belt away, move on. That's what needs to happen. They don't want to do that because they're holding out hope that they've got this mega fight in November. Is anyone reading this any differently? John Jones not fighting Tom Aspinall will not change anything that he's done over the past 14 years. But you are not being honest, you're not being truthful if when you tell the full story of John Jones, and Lord knows there'll be a lot of chapters, some incredible highs and some incredible lows, if you don't end it on, there was one fight left and he didn't take it. That's part of the story at this point. There's literally one fight left in the UFC for him. One fight. But I get it. You lose that fight and now you ended your career on a loss. You were the longest reigning champion, most successful champion, all this stuff. Is it worth it? I understand the calculus.
On the same note, the Wade concept raised concerns about how the UFC itself is mishandling the entire situation. While criticism has largely been directed at Jones, Wade argued that the real issue lies in the promotion's poor planning and lack of urgency. He highlighted the bizarre reality of having two heavyweight champions, neither of whom is fighting, resulting in over a year of stagnation and growing frustration among fans and fighters.
It is a day in MMA that is bizarre. We have two heavyweight champions of the world in the UFC right now, and neither of them are fighting. And while everybody has blamed Jon Jones for not fighting Tom Aspinall, and there's a lot of blame to go around there, the real blame for the Jon Jones problem, for Tom Aspinall wasting a year plus of his prime, has to go back on the company itself. Has to go back on the UFC, because they are the real reason that their heavyweight division is at a standstill, that we don't have any answers about this fight, that we don't even know who the real champion is, because they will not concede and stand up to Jon Jones.
Meanwhile, Rampage Jackson reignited criticism of Jon Jones's fighting style, accusing the former light heavyweight champion of relying on dirty tactics throughout his career. Reflecting on their 2011 title clash, Jackson revealed he had prepared himself to be eye-poked by Jones, fully expecting the foul play to be part of the game plan. Despite his preparation, Jackson expressed frustration that Jones still managed to land an eye poke during the bout.
Because it's your eyes, it's so soft and squishy and gushy in
Anybody ever poke your eye during a fight?
there. Yeah, Jon Jones. I fought a guy who's known for eye poking. So, Jon Jones. So I brought in this tall ass.
So you let them poke you?
In training?
Yeah.
I was trying to get away from it, and he got me one time. Yeah, I trained for it. Bro, I was fighting for the belt.
Like seriously, like you really did?
Bro, I'm telling you, I trained my ass off for that fight, for Jon Jones. I trained my ass off. That's how confident I was that I was going to win.
Yeah.
I trained my ass off. I did everything, but you know where I messed up? I didn't have a real tall guy with long limbs to do jujitsu with. So,
Yeah, no,
but he was poking. He was like this. He was fighting me like this.
Yeah, no, listen,
Poke me
guys,
again, poke me
listen.
Not holding back, Rampage further reflected on his loss to Jon Jones, admitting that a critical gap in his preparation was the lack of a training partner who could mimic Jones's unique physical attributes and elite ground game. While he anticipated the eye pokes and other controversial tactics, Jackson acknowledged that he didn't have anyone in camp who could replicate Jones's long reach or dominant grappling, all of which proved decisive in their clash. The absence of a comparable training partner, he suggested, left him underprepared for the stylistic puzzle that Jones presented in the octagon.
My friend Tony Moran, he's a big tall. He's probably like 6'6". He's just as tall, a little bit taller than Jon Jones. Excellent boxer, excellent kickboxer from the UK. And hardcore sparring, and I was prepared standing up for Jones, but on the ground I didn't have nobody that can have it matters. The eye pokes, man, the knee back.
Hey, I don't think he doing it on purpose, but he
did this on
we all
purpose.
fight like that, so we all have our hands over.
You didn't see him spazzing yesterday in here?
Captain Insano shows no mercy.
Jon is a master.
Bro, I was begging the referee.
Yeah.
I was begging the referee. I'm like, look, I never do that in fights. I never take my attention off my opponent.
Yeah.
But I was going to that fight. I was thinking about wearing goggles out, walking, because I knew he was going to poke me in the eye.
Yeah.
I got poked in the eye in training camp trying to train that shit.
Oh, wow.
And I had like a little red spot in there when we did the stare down. I know you saw it.
Expanding on his reflections, Jackson didn't hold back in his continued criticism of Jon Jones, labeling him as the dirtiest fighter in MMA history. Jackson emphasized that Jones's repeated eye pokes were so notorious that the UFC was eventually forced to redesign their gloves to help prevent such fouls. He claimed that Jones resorts to eye pokes deliberately, especially when hurt or pressured, using them as a tactic to halt his opponent's momentum and regain control of the fight. According to Jackson, anytime a fighter lands something significant on Jones, they can almost expect an eye poke to follow.
Jon Jones is a great fighter, but I'm gonna be 100. Even if you stand in this room, I said, but he's the dirtiest fighter ever. He's the dirtiest fighter ever. And the guy's so smart. He does the most dirtiest things. Like, I know they changed the gloves just because of Jon Jones. I don't know if you know, they changed the design of the gloves so you can't hold your hand like this no more. And he's gonna put his fingers in you. He's gonna poke you in the eye.
Rampage continued his critique of John's fighting style, pointing out another controversial tactic frequently used by the former champion: oblique kicks targeting the knee. Jackson stated that anytime an opponent advances, Jones responds by attacking the kneecaps to disrupt their forward movement. He emphasized that the move is dangerously destructive, calling for it to be banned from the sport altogether.
You advance and you're doing anything good, you get the advantage, you're gonna kick your knee backwards. For one, I think that knee kick, they call it like an oblique kick, whatever. He's kicking you right on your kneecap, kick in the back. I think that should be banned. And I kept asking the referee to I'm like, get his fingers out my eye. We're like, what's going on? Yeah. And because those two things that you can end somebody's career. Because if you detach my retina, this career, you messed my knee up really bad. Like my knee is still messed up from that.
Really?
Oh yeah.
That fight. Wow.
Yeah, my knee is still messed up from that fight.
Wow.
Building on that, Jackson continued to spotlight what he sees as a pattern of dirty tactics embedded in Jon Jones's fighting style, this time pointing to the use of spinning elbows during Jones's early rise in the UFC. Jackson claimed that many of those elbows routinely landed to the back of the head, an illegal and dangerous target. He suggested that Jones intentionally incorporated these strikes into his game in a sneaky, calculated manner.
Yeah, Jon Jones, he's good. He don't even have to do that. Go back and watch this fight. Think about all those spinning elbows he used to do in the beginning. Where did they land? Do you remember?
Where'd they land?
On the back of people's head.
It's true. Yeah. Now that you think about it,
It's illegal. Jon Jones is like the dirtiest fighter. They had to change the rules because of him.
Open hand lock.
When I fought him, whenever I was like have any type of advantage, he'll put his fingers in my eye. Let me do this right. How uncomfortable is this right here? That's uncomfortable. Your eyeball is your weakest thing on your body, right? So when I was fighting him,
eyes and nuts.
He was like this the whole time. It's hard to train for this too. And so he poked.
He said that.
He poked me in the eye, and then when you come in and advance, he kick your knee backwards.
Echoing the sentiments, Joe Rogan and Jamahal Hill weighed in on the long-running controversy surrounding Jon Jones's frequent eye pokes during fights. Rogan acknowledged that while Jones may not intentionally aim to poke opponents, his open hand stance creates a gray area, a technique that, while not outright illegal in form, clearly violates the rules when it results in repeated eye contact. Hill took a former stance, pointing out that regardless of intent, Jones has used eye pokes consistently throughout his career. He suggested that Jon employed them strategically to maintain distance and disrupt opponents' forward pressure.
Weird gray area, right? Because Jon poked a lot of people in the eyes. Yeah. I'm sure he didn't mean to do it, but that style of doing it like that, of having the hands out, especially when you're as long as Jon, it's a very gray area. You're not supposed to do that.
Yeah, no, you're not supposed to do it, but it's done. It's done quite a bit. You know what I mean? Especially like whenever you see somebody get hit with something like solid and they start like kind of get crowded and they want to get some space or they want to try to really keep you from coming forward.
Adding further weight to the criticism surrounding Jones's legacy, Joe Rogan also reflected on the impact of the fighter's failed drug test. Rogan admitted that when the news first broke, he was in denial, hoping it was some sort of hoax. He described it as a disheartening moment, saying it cast a shadow over Jones's dominance. Rogan also mentioned hearing that the PED involved couldn't be detected through blood testing at the time. For Rogan, it was a pivotal moment that raised serious doubts about the authenticity of Jones's greatness that still taints his legacy to this day.
We need to talk about that. Something. Can't trust anything.
How disappointing was that? How disappointing was that?
Broke my heart, Jon Jones.
Dude.
You broke my heart.
Dude, Jamie sent it to me. I was at Universal with my wife and my kids. This is what I've heard. This may or not be true, because this is the reason why I don't take it to say this, because I'm not 100% aware. Maybe we can find some information online available. What I had heard is that this drug is not detectable in blood, that it's a drug that's detectable in urine.
And they have to in a new test, right?
Jamie sent it to me. I thought it was a joke.
Me too. I thought the people were messing with me.
I looked at my phone. I was like, this is no way.
And then you sent to me, and you're the first one I texted. I went, is this real? You went, yes.
Well,
broke my heart, Jon Snow.
Once you start talking back and forth with the golden snitch,
that golden snitch, there's zero jokes there.
Further stoking the controversy, YouTuber and fitness analyst Derek from More Plates, More Dates revealed that Jon Jones blocked him on social media after he publicly dissected Jones's PED controversies and offered his opinions on the situation. Derek stated that his breakdown of Jones's drug test history struck a nerve, suggesting that Jones wasn't comfortable with him revisiting and analyzing those past incidents, especially amid this controversy with Tom Aspinall, where he is trying to paint himself as the better fighter.
Didn't John Jones block you?
I don't think he likes me.
What did you do?
Well, I guess it's just I've made a few videos just dissecting his case and giving my opinion on what I think he did, and he just doesn't like it, obviously, because it's just bringing up that is in his past that he doesn't want dug up, I guess.
This was the stuff about the drug testing.
Yeah, because there was that whole debacle with the the pulsing and the turinabol metabolite, and when if you go back historically to the beginning, like obviously the guy is pretty loose on what he's willing to do in terms of,
substances.
Yeah. After that, he tests positive for turinabol, and then thereafter the pulsing. But the thing that's interesting about that is when Nowitzki talks about this pulsing M3 metabolite, he refers to, well, it's not him, he's just reiterating the research, and it's ultimately they use this reference point of Clomid pulsing as a kind of a proxy to exemplify, look, here's a drug that stores itself in fat tissue and pulses over time.
In addition, even Demetrius Johnson took a lighthearted jab at John Jones, playfully questioning the former champion's loyalty and integrity. In a tongue-in-cheek remark, Johnson suggested that Jones might not be the most trustworthy person to have in your corner, joking that if trouble broke out, Jones would probably end up siding with the opposition.
They said you could have one person with you to help you fight. I'm going to say John Jones. I'm not going to say Islam. You know what I'm saying? That's me the way I think. I think right now.
I don't know, man. I think you're picking the wrong person. I think John Jones might rob you and join sides with the other guy. Islam. He was like, my brother. We died together. We're gonna wrestle together. We're gonna die together. John Jones goes, hey dog. Yeah, about that.
Despite his long-standing criticism of John Jones, Rampage Jackson offered a surprising endorsement of the former champion's toughness and loyalty outside the cage. While Jackson has frequently slammed Jones for being a dirty fighter, citing eye pokes and cheating tactics, he admitted that if he ever found himself in a dark alley and needed backup, Jones would be the first person he'd want by his side. Jackson stated with confidence that Jones would have his back and would probably handle most of the heavy lifting in a dangerous situation.
I'm telling you something what I think I know about John Jones. Even though I've talked on John Jones about being a dirty fighter over the years, make fun of him for eye poking and stuff like that, and make fun of him for saying not walking out to the song "I'm in love with the cocoa" when he got that scandal. I've made fun of him over the years, but he knows it's not personal. I just like to laugh and joke around. I think that if I was in a dark alley and I was about to get jumped or get robbed by some guy, I think John Jones, if he was with, I would rather have John Jones there with me. I'm like, because I know me and John Jones together, we can cup some motherfuckers, and he probably gonna do most of the work.
However, the critique of Jones's in-cage performance didn't end there, as Anthony Smith offered a blunt assessment of John Jones's skill set, stating that Jones, when broken down by individual fighting attributes, isn't particularly impressive in any single area. According to Smith, it's the combination of Jones's abilities that creates a unique and effective package. He went further to argue that Jones is very beatable and pushed back against the narrative of Jones having an elite fight IQ, instead crediting Jones's success to strong coaching and an ability to follow instructions well.
I just didn't show up, and John Jones is beatable. I'm gonna get roasted online for this. It's not the individual skill set that he has, it's the way that he puts it together. It's his range and his distance management. He is a dog, he's got a lot of physical gifts. If you take his individual skill sets and you take them away, each one of those things are not a problem. It's when you put them together and he puts it into the full package that it's the problem. His fight IQ is not crazy high. He's well coached.
Matching this sentiment, interim champion Tom Aspinall didn't hold back either. He bluntly labeled Jones a massive con artist, accusing him of crafting a legacy by ducking the most dangerous matchups. Aspinall cited Jones's failure to fight Francis Ngannou and his ongoing refusal to unify the belt as proof that Jones carefully curates his career path to avoid real threats.
I mean, the thing with John is conning the public, man.
Whoa. And Logan Paul, it's his favorite fighter.
Yeah. Oh, is it really?
Well,
yeah. Listen.
I mean, he's definitely top three. He's definitely top three.
Absolutely. I'm not disputing that he's an amazing fighter. I think the fact that he didn't want to fight Ngannou for 3 years and now he's not wanting to fight me for over a year. And the way he manipulates the media and the public is super smart. I'm not taking anything away from him. But do I think he's scared to take the tough fights at this stage in his career? Absolutely.
Can you understand that?
Absolutely. Yeah, I can.
Aspinall drove the nail in deeper by referencing Jones's history of failed drug tests. In his eyes, testing positive for performance-enhancing drugs disqualifies Jones from any GOAT conversations. Aspinall argued that PED use creates an inherently unfair playing field, and no matter the accolades, a tainted record undermines the legitimacy of one's achievements.
Is he the greatest?
Potentially, but the way that I look at it is he has failed a couple of drug tests. To me, that rules you out of being the best of all time.
Really?
For me personally, yeah, I think.
Does it make him a cheat?
Yeah, of course it does. Yeah. If you're on steroids or whatever, I don't think he was on steroids, but he was on PEDs, performance enhancing drugs. If you're on PEDs and your opponent isn't, that's absolutely cheating in my book. Unless you're both allowed to do it.
You've never taken anything like
Absolutely not.
that? You never would?
When I retire, I will. Yeah, absolutely, to keep my body healthy, and your body stops producing testosterone after a while. To be a healthy older gentleman, I'll probably do some kind of testosterone replacement.
You're suggesting I should be pumping steroids?
So. No, I don't think you should be on steroids.
That's debatable when you start putting in about drug tests and stuff like that, I think.
Damn.
But he definitely, like skill for skill, he's one of the top 3 fighters ever. I'm not debating that at all.
What drug are you talking about specifically?
Well, he's done a few. I think he's done a few.
As the controversy surrounding Jon Jones continues to intensify, one thing is clear: the MMA world is no longer content with silence or delay. With legends, analysts, and fighters calling for accountability, the pressure on Jones and the UFC has never been greater. If you enjoyed this deep dive, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more MMA breakdowns and updates.